Just one moment while I mute your mics, or unmute them, I'm sorry. Okay. Glenna Rossi,
Here.
Marissa Hallen,
Here.
Natalie Sherrod,
Here.
Warren Jensen,
Here.
Terry Smith.
Here.
Vice Person Wyatt Jenkins is absent tonight, and we have Chairperson Carl Durling.
She called me.
Yeah.
Here.
Thank you.
If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it. I'm going to have to sit. Either that or I'm going to have to help getting up, one of the two.
Okay.
Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's see, we don't have anybody here, so I won't go through the spiel. Feel like I'm talking to myself. There's nothing on the consent calendar. Okay, public hearings. I don't need to go through that spiel, there's nobody here. Did we get any communications from people about the apartments, or?
No, sir, we did not.
opposition, or-
We
Huh?
did not.
None, okay, good. Item 1, the minor use permit for Nelson Point Apartments staff.
Yes, this item will be presented by Connor Musler on Zoom.
Connor, we can't hear you
I can't
speaking.
hear you.
1 second.
There we go.
Oh, now
There
we
go.
gotcha.
You're fine.
So I'm getting the report up here. One moment. There we go. Okay. Good evening, commissioners. This is a use permit for Nelson Point Apartments, a proposed 72-unit affordable multifamily apartment complex that's requesting a residential density bonus. The reason this project is before you for your review and consideration is because of that density bonus. Otherwise, it would have been a administrative development review committee project for their review and approval. At this development, they're proposing 72 units, one of which would be a market rate for a on-site property manager. This project really is triggered with the residential density bonus in order to exceed the allowed maximum density permitted for the site. So at 3.89 acres, the largest project allowed would be 54 units. The applicant is requesting a bonus of approximately 35% to get to a max of 72 units. That is in accordance with Government Code, California State Density Bonus Law that's implemented through our local Chapter 17.24. In addition, 2 development incentives are being requested by the applicant: an increased maximum building height. Currently in the R2 zone, a max height of 35 feet is allowed. Applicant is requesting to go to 3 stories at a max height of 40 feet, so an increase of 5 feet above the maximum, and then a reduced parking ratio. Currently, code would require 126 spaces. The applicant's proposing 117 parking stalls. This would be really what would be seeing is a 1.5 parking stalls for every unit within the property, and no guest parking would be allocated to within the code. But that would be formally requested within their incentive. The Development Review Committee reviewed this last week, I believe it was, or a couple weeks ago, and they were supportive of the project. And I just want to turn it over to the applicant if they are present, and they could provide some more information about this.
Hi, Connor. Hi, Council. Actually, I have the architect, Doug Gibson, on the line too. He's probably the best fit to explain this in better detail. Connor, would you mind unmuting him?
Yes,
Sure.
we've unmuted him. Douglas
Okay.
Gibson and Jacob Soroti from the applicant.
Connor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. This is Doug Gibson, the architect of record. We're the architectural firm, Pacific West Architecture. We produced the Prospect View permanent supportive housing development directly to the west of this parcel. We also were the architect of record on the Riverbend Apartments Phase 1 and 2, which is further east on Nelson, and then we were also the design architect for the Mitchell Senior projects, well, 1 and 2, further south of here. This building type, we completed a similar development in Orland. We literally got our certificates of permanent completion 2 weeks ago. The same floor plan, similar elevations, similar color schemes. The one thing I wanted to point out was the project is going to have full solar. So as you can see in this rendering, we provide solar carports that will be provided power back to the grid in conformance with California State Code. We stepped the buildings down the site. If you're not familiar with the site, Nelson at the north is the high point of the site. And so we basically did it in 5 pads. So the parking and all of the amenities in the center stepped down. So the main design restriction was Americans with Disability Act and California Building Code for conformance with applicable handicap requirements for grade, cross grade, and slope. And so that's kind of the origination of the design of this project. So that's why we've got the 2 larger buildings that front both of the common, be the public's right-of-way at both the north and the south. And we wanted to buffer this development from Prospect View. So we have a fairly dense tree screenage program along the westerly property line. And that's also going to be a stepped drainage basin for stormwater retention and clarification processes. So, all water will be retained and processed on site. The site has also turns in the drive entry coming in from both the north and the south, as you can see in this image, with the intent that we didn't want to encourage cut-through driving. We wanted to make sure that the site itself was safe for residents as they go to and from their regular daily activities. One of the considerations for the density bonus and having a lower parking count is we understand that the site's near public transportation, and we wanted to make sure that that was part of the program when we initially laid it out, was to provide close connections to the Butte County bus system for residents. So that we believe, and we've done past projects where the 1.5 parking stalls per unit hasn't been an issue or concern. Relative to the center of the site, the community building is to the north end, and near the community building, we have a basketball court, a tot lot, a pergola. So all of those amenities are grouped near the community building. The community building has a exercise room that's open 24 hours. It's got a full commercial quality laundry facility. And in addition, it has common areas for the residents to do after-school programs and similar type of consideration that is part of the tax credit program. Each of the structures will be designed and will have low E vinyl windows, high efficiency heating and cooling systems. We're proposing brick to step it out to provide articulation at the enclosed patio, so all residents will have lockable storage out on the patio. And we're proposing a mixture of batten board and shiplap cementitious wood siding. So it'll be a similar type of wood siding that we had just next door at Prospector View. The colors on this project are meant to complement Prospector View, so that's a little bit darker palette. We believe that the 2 sites will work well together upon completion. And so that's pretty much my spiel, Connor. If there are any questions, that I'd be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Jacob,
Thank you.
could you talk a little bit about the companion AHSC grant that we're also seeking?
Yes, so we've been working with the city on getting this grant money. There's a program that is handled by HCD, by the Housing and the Community Development Department of California. And basically, the deal is that we work with the city in improving local infrastructure. So the whole grant money is centered around creating projects that kind of reduce the reliance on motor vehicles. So we work with the city in tandem to create locations for new bus stops, new bike lanes, new sidewalks, bus shelters, and in some cases, even provide the city with new bus systems altogether. And so this is part of that as well. So basically, how it'll work is if everything goes well, which we think it will, we'll be getting two kind of lump sums of money. One will be earmarked for the construction of this project, and the other will be earmarked for the construction of certain offsite improvements that, again, we've worked with the city in kind of, finalizing.
Thank you.
Is that it? Close the hearing then. Turn it over to the commission. Questions of the applicant or staff? I didn't really get into questions of staff. Now's the time to do it.
I have a question. Because this is affordable, low-income housing, is that why it is applicable for the grant? And is that also why it's applicable for the changes in height and making it more dense than our code would say? Like if they were market-price townhomes, would we still be applicable for the benefits? Or is it just in the state of California now, the only way to get grant money and extra benefits is by doing low-income housing?
Yes, so this program is only for, I believe, the minimum threshold to even qualify for this program is it has to be at least half affordable. In this case, it's fully affordable because obviously, as it's more affordable, the state will give you more money. Because it's affordable, the rents are lower, so it won't pencil without, this kind of grant funding. And then with regard to other question as well, yes, because it's affordable, it does qualify for, increased height and decreased setbacks and decreased parking and things like that through the state density bonus law.
Okay, that's
That's
what I
right.
thought.
And I think further to your question, there's a lot of money for affordable housing. There's not really any money for market rate housing.
Right. Okay, so thank you for answering my question.
Of course.
Are we,
Anybody have anything else?
are we at comments now?
Any comments? No?
Okay, I just feel like, what are we doing? I feel like we have a glut of low-income housing, and I understand that this is given to us on a platter because we get all this wonderful funding and it makes it so easy. But I've talked to a lot of residents, and I'm not exactly sure how it works to qualify for a place like this, but I've talked to a lot of residents who need an apartment to live in, and they cannot get in these apartments because you have to jump through these applications. It's not just as simple as, oh, I see they have rent for this much money, I can get the apartment. So I feel like by adding yet another low-income apartment, we're blocking out many of our residents who won't be able to qualify to live there. I've also talked to other residents who they don't want to live there because they're nervous. They don't know what type of apartment complex they're going into. They don't really understand how it will work and how many low-income people. So personally, I feel like we have a glut. I feel like it's probably a great project. I think you've done a good job checking everything off. But personally, I don't feel like Oroville needs another low-income housing apartment complex.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we have over 750 of them now. And again, this is it's a good-looking project, but what we need now is we need market rate housing.
Apartments
Pardon me?
and apartments.
Yes.
Market
and-
rate
and apar-
apartments.
Yeah, we need market
Yes.
rate housing and apartments. And, getting a grant is fine, but it's not, it's a maybe at best to get this grant for the city, I'm assuming. It's not a given. And again, to add, another 72 units along, and give the bonus, reduce the parking, raise the maximum height to 40 feet. Again, with over 750 plus units now, to add another 72 units.
And are they full? The other 700?
Yeah, they're fairly full. I mean, I know the ones on Table Mountain are full.
Not quite,
Oh, yeah.
not quite. No,
They're
about-
quite.
About 75%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, the activity over there. I don't know if there's been any issues over there. I mean, I do hear from some residents.
I live there and nothing,
Yeah,
it's fits in real well, apparently. Traffic is the biggest issue.
yeah. But for me, again, I just think another low income project with more units is just, I don't know if we need it right now. Again, we need market rate housing. We have a need for that right now.
Yes.
That's my belief.
And then it seems like we're drawing people from out of our area for all of these. Although I love the ones we have, and I'm not saying get rid of them. I'm just saying I feel like we've reached max capacity. And we have to look at what do we want to draw here, and what about people who come to work in the hospital, and we just need market priced. It's simpler. I don't know. I feel like it would fit the goals of the city general plan better to not have another one of these.
Can I make a couple of comments?
Yes.
They came and gave a presentation to council at the last council meeting, and the council, in my interview for coming here, they told me that they want market rate housing. So in my interview, I was sort of given marching orders that I need to bring in market rate housing, and I'm actively going after that. They've talked about that there's an overwhelming number of affordable housing, and so they understand that. They were also supportive of this program in general. I mean, there wasn't a vote. It was a presentation. But the council was supportive of the program because it does give us 2 miles of sidewalk, curbs, gutters, and streets, if we get the grant. So there is some benefit to that. To the point that you made earlier, and I heard this just from a woman this week, that it's not so easy to get into the apartments, and that they are income based. You do have to qualify to get into them, and there has to be something you have to go through to be able to demonstrate that, because otherwise anyone could get in a flood. The other thing is that I did for years, I think I've mentioned here before, that I was a consultant doing housing, and for years I did inspections for affordable housing projects that were subsidized. And so they're inspected on a regular basis. They're sort of randomly. There's not every unit's inspected every year, but sort of a random selection. And so they have to maintain a certain quality. They have to meet basic HQS. And then they're monitored for income, but so they do have some sort of oversight from management, and then from the funding agency, that the projects stay in good condition, and that the tenants maintain their places. So they are actually, rather than a place that's non-subsidized, there are some sort of almost like guarantees and protections that they're going to stay in good shape, and that the tenants will be good tenants.
Yes, I totally get that, and I see that. It's just that you take this lot, this track, out of, it's taken up. It can no longer go to its best and highest use, which would be market-priced apartments.
and
It
you're
just goes
absolutely-
out of that inventory. And
You're
and where do we say no?
You're absolutely right about that, and we're out of balance with our housing stock. We have now, we've met our RENA numbers, we've exceeded them, we have more than what we need, but we're out of balance for market rates. So we are, I'm actively looking, and it's tough right now because as Glenn knows, money is expensive, and so that's what's sort of keeping people from building these projects. And I keep bumping into this. We're bringing the Skip and the Bold program to council, which will give developers access to low interest money on a bond type of issue for 30 years for infrastructure and for fees.
That'd be great.
So we're looking for ways to try to facilitate as best we can. If we were to turn down affordable housing, it could also open us up to scrutiny from the state that actually has a, they have a charge to get affordable housing because we're so short in general. I don't know what the answer is to that. I can't answer to that because, I'm
Because
just,
we're over.
we're over.
Yeah.
But I'm just, in general, I'm just kind of, giving out the whole lay of the land here of we're out of balance, we're over with that. But at the same time, if we're, we could open ourselves up to some sort of scrutiny if we were to say no to low income housing. So it is, I don't really know how the balance is for
Does
that. but-
California run the city?
Yep.
Is there a city government at all, or is it all, I mean,
Nope.
we have to kind of at some point do all that we can, and I understand what California wants, but it's our city of Oroville.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Turn on my microphone. Yeah, I'd like to add to the conversation that as somebody who does, among other, statistical things for places, housing demand analysis, I want to remind everyone that the market for low-income housing and the market for market rate housing are not necessarily separate markets. When we get people who can qualify for a development in a low-income development, they're vacating something somewhere. And in some cases, they are going to be vacating a market rate unit somewhere else in town. So, as long as we're building housing, we are opening up housing to other people. And, those who are attracting from in town, it's true. Some of the people who are occupying these units, yes, they're from Chico and commuting in, probably commuting into Chico to work, but for our town, I don't necessarily consider that a bad thing because, we see this on our community boards all the time. At least I see this on social media. Well, why can't we get such and such store? Why can't we get such and such restaurant? And the answer is because we don't have the population yet. And the more that we can build our population, the more that we can build the market for more of the commercial development that people want in this town, which to conclude what I said in the beginning of the statement, which I think is a good thing and a step in the right direction. So, I think this development in particular, is appropriate for the, the parcel and the location that it is located at. I'm going to support it myself, and I don't know if I've helped with additional information or questions or whatnot, but
No, I appreciate it. I agree with you. That's exactly it. We need to bring the population here to fit with the goals of the general plan. And that means we do need to have people who want to spend money in our stores. And if we end up having all low income, or if we go 60% or 70%, that's going to radically change our town personality and the opportunity for businesses to come here. It will kind of determines everything. So that's why I just don't know. It's sounding like we're never really going to be encouraged, that we can say no.
let me add one more thing that I meant to include before, and I'm speaking off the top of my head, so I do have nothing prepared for this. It doesn't really seem to pencil right now to build market rate, does it?
They're building
it's
them
the
in Chico,
it's
and they're
probably,
selling.
What was that?
They're building market rate. Does it pencil to build market rate homes?
We
They
have
are in
a-
Chico.
Well, there's a
I
lot
know
of-
that.
There's a lot of issues with building market rate housing, okay, in this climate. We have an interest rate problem. We have an a serious insurance problem. We have impact fee problem, okay? We're out of balance on that.
Interest rate problem.
We also have, we're running out of sewer here, okay? Getting will-serve letters. We have a certain amount, right? And we've added, like I said, 750, now another 72 units. So if we keep on adding low-income housing, now we're not going to have the sewer capacity. So when market rate housing comes in, you're not going to get a will serve letter from TID or SCORE or LOPUD or anybody else, right? Those are issues that we have to think about. That, we just don't have unlimited. Now, there is supposed to be more infrastructure, I understand, but when? Correct? And, I don't know, does the city get the full impact fees from these low-income projects?
They pay in.
Full income, so the school board gets us $4.79 a square foot. And
Yes, that's correct, unless they request a fee waiver or deferral, in which case that has to be decided by the city council.
okay, and has that been,
Not for this,
requested yet?
not for this project, no.
okay. And so, the grants that may be attached to this, what will they actually do for us? And what is the guarantee, what's the probability
The 2 mile of
of
sidewalk.
getting the, I mean,
It seems-
2 mile bike lane to me really isn't a concession that's,
It's paving 2 miles of street. It's putting back,
Curb and
it's
gutter.
infilling the sidewalk and curb and gutter. And I mean, we've looked at it with Josh, our city engineer, or not our city engineer, but our resident engineer here. And it goes on the other side of the 70 over there where there's limited curb and gutters. They're not really up to sidewalk curb and gutters. They're not up to ADA standards. So this puts in the streets and then and up in that area right there. Is that you doing that, Wes?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I thought Wes knows where it's going.
yeah. So that's where it would go. It would go up in that street that Wes just went up. That's the school, right? And then down across Nelson, and then over on the other side, and it goes. So all in all, it's about a 2 mile stretch, and then it also goes down south a bit too, doesn't it, Wes?
Yeah, I think it goes.
Yeah,
down.
right down in there. So it is adding. So if they get the grant, they're requesting their grant for enough fund, and this grant is unusual. It's different than some of the other grants that are out there because this grant actually does allow for this additional infrastructure request. So they're requesting enough funds to be able to do all of that work in addition to what they're getting for the.
so
the
what is
project.
what is the actual probability of,
Well,
of
it's-
that happening?
I think I'm going to ask them to weigh in on this, but I think that it's all or nothing. They either get the whole wad or they don't get the wad. They get the whole grant or they don't get the grant.
So the grant is tied to this project, meaning that if they get the money to build a project, then we get the grant?
Yeah, if they get the money to right, because they're looking for a grant to subsidize their construction, and then the funding source allows them to go further and request funding for this infrastructure bit for the streets, the bike lanes. It's like safe routes, or to add walking access, or what's the term, Wes? The
Safe routes to school.
safe routes to school, but the mobility, to get mobility for people off the street. And then it also
Well,
paves the street.
and again, the other issue is that, we do have a lot of crumbling infrastructure. And, we've added 750 units, now we're gonna add another 72 units. I mean, these roads have gotta get repaved. We can't,
On Nelson, when you get off the freeway.
yeah,
Horrible.
yeah, we can't wait, until 2025, 26, 27 to pave some of these things.
And so one of the nice things about if we get money to actually pay for this is that you know how it goes with paving, right? If you slurry seal it, if the road's in good condition, you can slurry seal and paint it. And you can go for what it would cost to do a mile. You do like half a block if you have to do like what we have on Bird Street here or Robinson. It starts to get really expensive because then you can't just fill in the cracks and pave it over. You've got to dig things out and compact. So So that's just sort of another benefit of doing this, because the road, it does need some repair, and then this grant will take care of that too.
I thought the grant just did curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
I think
Does it do the
And
road too?
Bike paths and bus
Yes.
stops as well.
yeah.
And does that mean the whole road?
It's paving the road for that distance, plus the side. It's not all the sidewalks, curb and gutter, but it's where there aren't any, and then to fill those in, and then to sort of align them where they're not aligning.
Jacob, can you clarify whether or not the two grants are tied together, or whether you can get the low-income housing grant separately?
Yeah, so both grants are indeed tied together. So we either get it all, and we get the money for the construction. You guys get money for infrastructure, or we lose. But we've never lost an ASIC application before. I think we've had about, I want to say, 6 or 7 projects in the last 4 or 5 years, and we've never lost one. So.
Question about parking. What's the current parking ratio? Because they're asking for requesting a
the
reduced
parking
ratio. What's
ratio-
yeah, go ahead.
The parking required by code is 1.5 spaces per unit and then 1 guest space for every 4 units. Essentially, what they're proposing is just to have the 1.5 spaces for every unit.
Okay. So we're losing how many spots then? I don't feel like doing the math. 70
3 times.
or
What
4.
is it?
72?
117 are proposed. 126 would be required by code, so we're losing out. I don't
Okay,
do
so
mental
not
math.
like
sorry.
9.
It's like 9.
9.
9.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's not. It
Not
just
that many.
sounds like a lot
It
at
does.
first because I know it sounds great for everyone to use public transportation, but I just feel like the reality of that is
No.
not there. And I mean, yeah, they could walk to Home Depot or Dollar General, but there's not a ton around there. So I was just concerned. And most people have more than one car, so that was just my concern.
Yeah, and the grant's 700,000? Is that what the grant is?
Jacob, can you answer that one?
I have to check my files, but that sounds correct. I can let you know in a few minutes.
To the city's portion of
So,
it?
yeah, the city's portion is how much of that? The full 7?
The 700,000. I think Jacob's checking it out for us.
Because I mean, 700 grand, I mean, sounds like a lot, but when you're doing curb, gutter, sidewalk, and paving and prevailing wage,
No, it's not gonna go
it's not a
very far.
lot.
It doesn't go very far.
It's a very small amount. Yeah, again, I think it's a nice project, but I'm not convinced that we need any more low income here. I think we, with the state, I mean, if you do the ratio of, our population to what we have and what's been built, and, I mean, the scale is way out of balance. And, we do have a need for the market rate with the hospital and with other companies coming in. I mean, a nurse can't live here, right? The janitor probably can't live here. I don't know.
It's probably true.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's hard, qualifying.
That's the thing, yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, so it doesn't satisfy our current, need.
That's how I feel, because I've talked to people who have applied and they can't get in. And I look at them and they have like a good job, not a great job. I would think they would totally qualify. So I'm not sure why the mark isn't hitting the mark. It's supposed to be affordable, but yet I'm not sure it's working. And I don't know if that's just because of the complexity of a government program. It's hard for government to solve problems.
That's because
So
HCD has given us numbers that we have to go by for income qualifying and that sort of thing.
Right, there's a
So,
cap. Yeah.
statewide.
And it
yeah.
probably doesn't always comport with reality.
No.
Or local
Right.
conditions. Yeah.
Exactly.
And this is subsidized as well, is that right? I mean, it'd be like,
Ongoing subsidies. Well, I think the idea is, and I think Jacob has just kind of touched on this, is that the subsidies that are provided now are meant to offset the rents over time. Are there further subsidies, Jacob, or is it just the subsidies you get in the beginning for the build?
No, it's just the one that we get for the build. So basically, that's the deal that we make with California. California says, "Hey, we're gonna give you guys some money to help to build this, right? But in return, you can't charge more than this much rent, and that rent is set by the state. We have no control over it. So it's for people earning between 30 to 60% of the AMI for Butte County,
Which is 91.
and of course that number changes based on how big the household is. So, one person, two person, four people. But to answer a few more of your questions, if I may, if I can have the floor for a second.
1,000, isn't it?
No, I looked it up.
How much?
I'll ask him. What is the average median income? Are we going off of Butte County or Orville
It goes up by the county.
Butte County.
County? And what is that?
I looked today and
Looking
it
up
said
right now.
91, but
It's 91,600
Okay.
that's what I looked at.
for a family of 4.
Yep,
For a family of 4.
exactly.
So see, you could have somebody
Yeah.
making 45,000 and they're single and they probably couldn't get in.
Well, it drops
Right,
down.
correct.
So,
So-
yeah, they have
So if it's a single
so-
person,
it goes by the household size, so each number has a different amount.
it's a complicated matrix. But I would like to see, I don't know. I guess I just don't like California continuing to direct exactly everything cities do. And we have to stand up at some point on some level. We can't just keep cooperating all the time. But I'll be quiet now.
No,
No, please, keep going. I mean,
you're allowed 4 cents, not just 2 cents. Is that all? I've got something.
If I may, I'd like to have the floor for a bit to address a few comments I heard.
He wants the floor, yes.
Yes?
We'll pay attention.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, so, like I said earlier, this is, it is, income based, and unfortunately we don't get a say in, who gets to move in and how much they get to pay. And that's all kind of set by HCD, and it's based off of state goals. So they decide, how affordable they want it to be. And, then they ultimately they fund it. So they kind of sign off on everything that we do. And they set the rents, and, so it's people that make less than 60% of the AMI would have a chance to live here, definitely. And of course, there's various size bedrooms for different households. But although it is low income, we are paying full impact fees to the city, which you guys could definitely use to help rebuild infrastructure. The second point I heard is about safety. I understand that low income housing in the past definitely has had a negative kind of connotation, but it's changed a lot in the last 10, 20 years. And with us in particular, we have so for example, Prospect View and in Mitchell and Table Mountain, all these things that we've done in Oroville so far, every single resident has to sign this one part of their lease that says that they cannot engage in any kind of illicit activities. They cannot be parts of any gangs. They cannot be causes of noise complaints. They cannot bother other tenants. So it's very strict as to what we expect from them and how they have to behave as our tenants. And Wes, I'm sure you can kind of chime in here that we haven't had any serious problems with safety at any of our other projects, have we?
I don't know for sure, but I haven't heard about any. So.
I'm sure we don't.
I mean, I'd be interested to find out what the police activity has been, the number of calls to the Table Mountain, all the projects. What is the, is there a way to find that out, Wes? To get that number?
Yeah, there is. We can get that information from OPD, but bear in mind that all of these are new facilities and newly occupied, so that there probably wouldn't be a useful statistic.
I mean, because the people that I talk to that live there, they say that they've encountered issues
Okay.
there, fights and arguments and noise. I mean, a lot of different issues I mean, you're gonna get that everywhere, and I fully understand that, but, just because someone signs a document saying, "I'll be good," doesn't mean they're gonna be good.
No, of course, of course, you know, not everyone is always, you know, you won't find any housing development anywhere in the country, whether it's market rate or affordable, where there's never any fights, never any nuisances. But I'm saying, you know, we haven't really seen any, I guess, any misbehavior out of the ordinary, you know, more than what you'd expect from anywhere else.
I mean, is there any flexibility in, you know, the 71 units being low income and the on-site managers being the market rate, which, is there any, I mean, can it be like a 60-40, 70-30, you know, get, 30-40% market rate and the other?
I mean, there are projects that do that. It changes how the funding will come in. So they'll fund, they would provide funding for those that are affordable and not for those that are market rate.
Right, but I mean, that can be made up in the, with the affordable rent as opposed to the market rate rent too, right? I mean, and it helps us solve a problem, right? If we can get, 30 or 35 market rate units, that would be a major benefit. Now, I mean, I don't know how that's going to affect the funding, or the grant.
It probably, I mean, I can't really speak to that. I'd have to have Jacob weigh in on that, but.
Right. So, and we do have some projects that do that have a mixed affordability component. In this particular project, we want to avoid that because if we were to put, less affordable housing, the state would say, okay, well then we're going to give you less money, which means that you guys will end up with less money ultimately. So with this program especially, it's very beneficial for the city to, to want to have it fully affordable because that means you're going to get the most money that you can for, again, for offsite improvements.
Hey, Jacob, what's the income percentage? Is it, because what we talked about before was the median income, but what is it 60 or 80? 60 or 80?
It's 60 at the most and 30 at the least.
Okay. So to clarify before, we talked about that the median income was 91,000, but for this project, it would be 41,250 for a family of four.
So 41,000 for a family of four.
Mm-hmm.
So if a family of four needed a place to live and they made 50, they couldn't qualify.
No, I think it goes up to 60, right?
60 would be
30 to
80
60 would take care of the extremely low to the low income. What we're looking at is the moderate income ratio, which is really what the city's never produced before. So in this case, for a family of four, low income would be 65,950.
There you go. Thanks, Connor.
How much would it be?
65. It's frustrating because it's like the state is really controlling development by this means of handing out funding. And so instead of working with developers who coming up with ideas, they have to work within the matrix of the state's handouts. And it's just frustrating from a planning perspective.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
if I could chime in a little bit more, and I don't know how many of you watched the city council presentation, but I think Cameron Johnson with AMG and our Butte County Housing Authority director were there and did state that this project site does not inherently lend itself to a market rate project, considering the fact that immediately next door is the Prospect View Permanent Supportive Housing Project, which is targeting extremely low, borderline homeless, and those in need of supportive services. And immediately to the right is the Butte County Housing Authority apartment homes for low-income individuals. So inherently, if you're looking to develop a market rate project, it's not going to be the most attractive in this location. In addition, they did mention that this would be considered what would be a pipeline project. It's not coming online in the next year or two. They're looking at probably 3, 4, maybe 5 years out in terms of this project coming on. So while we have all of our affordable projects coming online and finishing out, this project is down the road when we don't know what funding we're going to get. So the big group of affordable projects that were approved and we saw constructed were a result of those 9% low-income housing tax credits as part of the Paradise Recovery. And that funding has now been utilized and exhausted, and it gets a little bit harder to pursue funding through other grant programs. The AHSC is a pretty competitive grant, and Jacob knows more about that in terms of developing those. And where Oroville's at, we're in a unique situation, as you all have admitted and noticed, that we have a lot of affordable housing. But there is no program, state, local, anywhere, that encourages market rate development because it's difficult to get affordable. We have a hard time getting market rate just because, in my understanding is, we are competing against a larger market of Chico. And you can build a house, you can sell it for more, and people want to live in Chico as opposed to Oroville. And so really, I would caution and note that for this project, as Pat alluded to, if we were to deny it, that would potentially get us into some hot water with the state because we are denying an affordable housing project, which we are legally required to approve. State law under the density bonus requires us to approve those incentives unless we can find one of three findings: that it's contrary to the public health and safety for a historic district, that it's contrary to state or federal law, or that it does not result in identifiable cost reduction for a project. So by doing so, we really can't make those findings. And I hate to say it, but we have to approve the project as it's proposed because legally we're binded to state law.
So Connor, I have a question.
I don't know if I.
That's true.
So you're telling me that Pleasanton, Dublin, San Ramon, Danville, and everything, they're all bigger cities than ours, 2-3 times the size, and they've done 800 low-income housing there?
It's not a matter of how many you've done. It's just a matter, they're not looking at it by a region. The state's not, they're just looking at providing affordable housing.
It's the law.
And believe me, this is something that I've been talking to Brian about, looking at lobbying the legislature to kind of
Right.
change this
It's the
for
only way
us.
you can
But
change it.
as it is right now, this is what I came from Encinitas where, a dirt lot is $800,000. So affordable, even with this money, isn't even practical. So, there's just this whole balance that's off in the state. It's kind of creating an unfair situation for us for all the reasons
Well,
that
I mean,
you've
I just
spoken
find it
about.
hard to believe that, so we have this imbalance, but we're a town that's only good for low-income housing? So our population is all low-income housing?
Well, we do have a nice luxury apartment that's coming up. That's going to be market rate. We have some, 19 homes over on Felice Court that'll be coming up.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have through the Skip and Bold program, we have another possibly 58 market rate houses. We have the person that brought that, or the person that's doing that project brought us the Skip program and asked us to opt in so he could have access to it. I presented this to, I think, 3 other developers in just the last few weeks that are all really interested in it. And there's a finance guy that talked to us that spoke to yesterday. He's been helping with the Skip and Broad program. He said that once we've adopted it, he's going to start promoting it to Horton and to Lennar and all those companies and let them know about this immense number of entitled lots that we have that are available to us now that we have a funding source that will help them, bridge that gap. So, fingers crossed, we may have some good stuff coming our way.
That's great. To what Connor said, we will never draw market rate pricing if we constantly do low income, and we'll always have an edge where we're touching a low income. So I still just go back to my same point. We have to say no to something. And then if they make us do it, they make us do it. But I think they need to know that, do we really want the state directing? We just take all city planning away and it all goes to the state of California. I just think we can stand up a little bit and fight for the best projects that we can get.
Well, this is why Brian Ring and I have been talking about going after some legislation. I propose that maybe we even sponsor a bill with our assembly member or senator to see if we can get some sort of concession for ourselves, or we've already met our RENA numbers, and then let us sort of get off the hook for being required to do these type of projects, which is creating an imbalance for our community.
And I mean, we're not going to solve all the problems, and we're here to address this project. But there's many illegitimate children running around the city on this. And I use that term not for low-income housing, but I mean in terms of there's many other facets to this issue when it comes to, again, just the school district fee of $4.79 a square foot. Insanity. Okay, there's a lot of different fees. Everything's out of balance. So yeah, it's going to be hard to get market rate housing when you've got, $40,000 of impact fees, sewer hookup, PG&E, TID, Cal Water, South Feather.
Before you've even put a shovel in the ground.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you basically have to get a lot for free. And so that's always going to be an issue. That's why when everybody talks about, we have to raise our fees and we're in balance with Chico or Gridley, none of that matters because we live in Oroville. We don't live in Gridley. We don't live in Live Oak. We don't live in Chico. We live in Oroville.
I'd like to change that conversation, just talk about Oroville.
Correct.
Because
So those,
we have a lot of opportunity here.
We have a
and I
lot
think
of
that we should
opportunity.
Talk about
and
that.
people do want to live here.
yeah.
Agree.
So,
Right.
Carl, I'm starting to hear similar arguments over again. You said you had comments to make?
I'm being patient, I'm waiting. Yes, I'd like to throw my 2 cents in here. I have a question for the applicant. We kind of bounced around, this is a question to the applicant. We kind of bounced around why this project and this locale. What I like is kind of a straightforward answer. Why did you choose to develop this parcel with this type of I hate saying low income, but whatever, versus market rate? Why did you choose one versus the other?
So I can answer that one. The reason is pretty simple, is that just, Oroville, unfortunately, just doesn't command the high enough rents that we need to build market rate. Some cities do and just some cities don't. The price for construction is, about the same in Oroville as it is in Chico. The price of, land is cheaper in Oroville, but not, that much cheaper for it to make that much of a difference. However, the rents are much higher in Chico, so it'd just make more sense on paper to do market rate in Chico and affordable in Oroville. And also, in this case, we knew that Oroville would be a very good candidate for the HSC program. Again, we've never lost that in the past. We've always won every single time we've tried, that also makes it easier for us to, build something that the neighbors like, because we're also improving their communities. We're adding, bike lanes and curb gutter sidewalk and things that the average developer, the market developer, would not be adding.
So if the grant gets turned down, then you can just turn around and reapply without the extra dough coming in, right, for the city?
If it gets turned down, yeah, that would really be a bummer. We would probably reapply the year after. And if we just for whatever reason just can't get it done, then we just get this done via a regular as a regular affordable housing project. It would really suck for us because we wouldn't be getting the extra money, but it'd be possible to do this without the grant as well.
To me, a major part of the problem with market rate is we don't have enough. It's a matter of supply and demand, and that's why the rates are so high for market rate apartments.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Totally. I fully understand you. I get it, and it's really not your guys' fault that the state makes these kind of binding mandates on cities. It's there's other cities in California that are very, very, very anti-affordable housing, and that's who the state's trying to to kind of force with these laws. It's those cities. But in this case, even though market rate housing is definitely has its place, these lots, both of these parcels that we're building on now, we want to be building on, have been vacant for 10, 20 years, and nobody's bought them. So if there really was a market for market rate housing, if there really was a demand for it, one would think that someone else would have bought this land before us.
How many units would be built on this parcel if it were a market rate apartment complex? Do you know? Versus how many are being proposed in this project?
Connor can confirm this, but I believe it was 54 units, according to our general plan. And if they had not asked for the density bonus, this would have been an approved project in the R2 zone without coming to the planning commission.
So there's a density bonus for market rate apartments? No.
No.
And that's the problem. Okay, it has to do with a marketing
That's a
issue
problem.
more than anything else. You're giving an advantage to this kind of apartment or complex and giving a disadvantage to market rate projects, which drives up the cost of market rate projects.
Exactly.
Which makes it difficult for people to rent and have a demand, which means builders of a market rate project say, there's no demand here because da-da-da-da-da-da.
All of,
That's really talking about a marketing issue here, as far as I'm concerned. And to me, the basic question is, why are we allowing, was it 72 units in this project?
Yes.
Why are we allowing 72 units in this project? Forget the density, all of that. We're allowing 72 units in this project, but how many, if the buildings were exactly the same, beautiful, it's a beautiful project and everything, built as market rate, how many units would be allowed in the market rate? 50-something?
54 units.
Yeah.
54.
Doesn't
So-
that tell you there's something wrong?
Well,
Why are we
This
going?
development, if it was not applying for a density bonus, the max density is 14 units per acre and a minimum is 6. So you would see a project potentially at 23 units or at 54 units. Market rate projects are eligible to request a density bonus. They can go up, but those density bonus units must be targeted towards affordable. So market rate would not be allowed. It would be moderate income, low income, or very low. So one of the hardest segments of housing to cover is moderate income, which is that middle income. And that is a project, if this individual were proposing to do a full market rate project, could propose a density bonus application and target those at moderate income. But unfortunately, as we see with the Oroville, we don't get moderate income projects. We don't get market rate projects. This density bonus, as most housing incentive programs are targeting towards a market rate mixture with affordable. We just don't get that.
And that still, the problem is a marketing problem. Why build apartment complex where you only get 52 units when you can build a project with incentives and get 72 units?
Well,
Okay,
that's what this,
money-wise, I'm just saying, money-wise, the flow of intentions is toward this kind of project and not towards market rate. And to me, the issue with us as a city is that why don't we have this zoning on this project that would allow 72 units of market rate? What zoning would it take? That's, to me, is the issue. We're giving an advantage just by virtue of our zoning and so to this type of project. And so why not, as a former developer, I've done some apartment complex. Why wouldn't I go this route versus market rate when I can?
Right.
It's MDR, medium
Huh?
density. It's medium density. Medium, MDR, medium density.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how many units do you get?
26.
Was it medium
50
density here
50
is
some
what?
odd units.
6 to 4 units an acre, is that what he said?
54 would be the max.
Yeah, 54 units versus 72. So, to me, why didn't we have this property zoned so that a market rate apartment could come in there with 72 units built just like this and just as beautiful?
I mean,
Why,
the zoning
to
map.
me, that's the problem. It's a marketing, zoning problem.
If this was,
And until we address that, this is what you're gonna get.
so what you're talking about is a zoning change.
I can't hear you.
What you're talking about is a change to the zoning code, which, you know, we can do. We can go through the process and we can change the
No,
zoning code.
I know what,
But if this was zoned so that a market rate could go in with 72 units, they can get a what's the word? I'm not coming up with the words. They would be able to build more units because then they get a density bonus on top of whatever we have. So they would be able to put more units on this than the 72.
If it was low income,
It was low income.
yeah.
So we have discussed state policy,
Yeah,
state
Wes is like-
restrictions, many
have to vote.
policies that are out of the control of this planning commission or even the city council.
no, the state doesn't say,
And
you have to have this parcel developed.
this project is
this
taking
way.
advantage of the rules that exist today.
That's a marketing issue.
So
Okay.
this commission hopefully will take a look at this project and decide whether or not they would like to approve this project, given all of the machinations and all the other issues involved.
Okay, that's my number one thing. My number two is, why are we okay, the philosophy of urban planning for apartments for the elderly is that you try to get the projects as close to commercial services like where they can buy food and, that type of thing, versus out here in the middle of basically from a supply demand standpoint, it's out in the middle of nowhere compared to a same project on the other side of the river where it's closer to Food Max or whatever. The general philosophy is to try to have the elderly as close as possible to the services that they would normally need. That's the philosophy. And this is contrary to that. And that's why I've had a problem with the other projects that, it's, to me, this project should be, or this property should be market rate, number one. Okay? And number two, we need to look at the densities that we're allowing. If we're allowing this density on this parcel, but we won't allow a market rate comparable density. And I got a problem with that. Okay? And that's why it has to do with sitting down with the numbers. It's called the numbers. You sit down and pencil out the numbers. The numbers say to the developer, this is the way we go because the numbers say we go this way, not market rate. Okay? And that's the problem I've got. The project itself is beautiful. It's probably needed, but we're shooting ourselves in the foot because we're not designed to really support market rate apartment complexes. We're not. Okay? And until we sit down as a commission or city council or whatever and take a look at the marketing aspects of what is needed to build market rate apartment complexes and have enough to where it starts bringing down the rent. It's the supply and demand issue. That's why the rents are so cotton picking high, because there's no apartments.
So I read an article in the American Planning Association magazine, which talks about 5 ways in which we can increase density or encourage market rate housing. I'll bring those to the next meeting, and we
Yeah,
can
and
start.
we need
We
to
can
be
start
looking
discussing
at that.
ways in which the city might want to alter its zoning or its general plan in order to accommodate what you're talking about.
Well, my biggest problem with the project is its locale. This should be a market rate property, and this demand, not demand, but the need for this type of housing should be closer across the river. I mean, if there was a shopping, what's the project right next?
Hammond Park?
Huh?
Hammond Park,
No,
the other one, the other direction? I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, Chairman Durling, it is
the non-commercial
definitely.
big box thing right down the street.
Home Depot?
Home Depot.
Yeah.
If that were a shopping center, I would not have a problem. But we don't have
Definitely-
any shopping
It's
centers.
definitely true that there's a lot of apartment and low-income or affordable housing north of the river there.
Yeah.
With a dearth of commercial
Yeah.
opportunities. And that is a planning
Well,
or
it's contrary to the
Yes,
general
and-
plan.
And we've been promoting more commercial up in that area. But it does take time, and it does take finding the right investors and that sort of thing.
When we proved a project that's shown up, it's vacant, I always thought that was going to be a shopping center. It ends up being an apartment complex. I'm going, am I missing something? I mean, I'm a former developer. I mean, I'm looking at that and I say, geez, there's no shopping north of the river. I mean, man, if I put, that little store, little thing,
Dollar General.
huh?
Dollar General?
Yeah.
It's down
That
there.
thing goes like crazy. Why? I mean, they finally started bringing in bananas and food and stuff. And why? Because there's such a cotton picking demand for it north of the river. And the reverse of that is, why are we building or having approval of projects for the elderly retired and everything, and they don't have cars, or they need the bus or whatever just to go to Food Max to shop. I sit down there at Food Max. I drive my wife there, and she does the shopping. I sit, but I watch what's going on, and people, retired people, that's the only place they can go. The elderly. I mean, and we're putting the demand on the north side of the river and their needs on the south side.
I don't believe that this project is senior
I
project.
can't hear you.
I don't believe that this project is a senior project. It's just it's an affordable.
It's
Not for seniors.
It's not for
Not-
seniors.
It's not restricted to seniors.
For all,
It's just
income
affordable
based.
all
housing.
ages.
Family.
I know, but look at, have you ever looked at the complex of that type of, I mean, those people have the same problem as the elderly.
I will play devil's advocate and let you know that a lot of younger people don't go out and shop anymore. They have everything delivered to them. I'm just going to tell you that right now. They have Uber
what
Eats,
was
we have
the-
Instacart, and they don't want to go to the store.
What was the key
So I will
word
play-
you said? You
Young.
said
Younger. Yes,
people.
younger.
Okay.
Well, I
The
would
whole
say
point
40
is
and
we're
under.
not talking about younger people here. We're talking
All
about
ages, but
Actually,
I'm just
we
saying the
are.
next generation
This
and
is
a
a
lot of
family
these people
unit.
that live here will probably be younger people with young children is my assumption. And I'm just saying that I do think that moving forward in the future of planning, I don't think that the stores being nearby is going to be as much of a factor because of the services that we have offered to us. Just offering my,
So you're saying me as 85-year-old, I'm gonna order stuff and have it delivered?
no, I'm saying, but that population is shrinking as nicely as possible.
And
Okay,
Chairperson Durling, we do recognize that we need to have grocery stores on the north side of the town and the west side of the town, that there are some food deserts in the town. this project right here is not restricted to seniors.
Sorry, I
And
can't hear you.
This project here is not restricted to seniors, and we do recognize we need grocery stores, and we're actually looking at how we can get some grocery stores to come in. We're going to start recruiting for some grocery stores, but this project right here is just whether or not to approve this 72-unit affordable family project.
So, okay, so basically we're just voting on the density bonus, correct? I mean, if they want, they can just come, and if we don't approve the density bonus, it goes back to you at staff level for 54 units. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I don't think so, right?
Yeah,
No, that's right.
That's what happens.
Oh, if we don't,
If we don't approve the density bonus, then the project is a market rate. I mean,
but doesn't the state be able to give them the wherewithal to come in and do it anyway?
No.
As Connor had said, state law does require us to approve up to an 80% density bonus. And our ordinance is less than that, and they meet both our ordinance and the state requirements.
So, anyway,
I mean, I don't know. I think we should tell the state, if they give us any problems, come in here and do some paving for us. Give us something, right? Help our infrastructure, right? Because we don't have the infrastructure to support this. We don't. I mean, that's my opinion. If the state wants us to keep on doing project, even, we're even going to need help with the market rate housing, but we need infrastructure help. And
So is it time to vote on this project?
I've got another question.
Wes,
if I'm allowed. I have another
sorry, Wes,
question.
before that, I just wanted to tell you, I figured out the number that you're looking for. So the ballpark estimate of how much money would actually get into the city's hands to complete the infrastructure is about $2 million.
That's right.
I'm sorry, the what?
It's about $3 million would be the
No,
part.
$2 million,
$2
not
million.
$3, $2 million.
I thought that it was much higher than the 700,000, but for the infrastructure
For the
portion.
road.
For the
road
road.
improvements. Well, that's better than 700,000, that's for sure.
So they'll give us $2 million. Just for the
That's
density
correct, yeah.
bonus or for the 54 units?
If in the grant.
Density
So if
bonus,
they get,
yeah.
if they're successful in getting the grant, part of that grant is the $2 million package for us to have money for the road improvements, sidewalk, curb
Can
and
this
gutter.
be tied
That's,
to?
that's the state's incentive to do these projects.
Yes.
That's what's
correct.
going on.
That's
It has
correct.
to do with money.
That's
The whole
correct.
cotton picking, that's what
Can
it's
we
all
tie
about.
this to that?
The numbers. I got one more question.
I don't think the project works for them if they don't get
What's
it.
the 5 feet for? Why are we approving an
Oh, the
addition-
height?
Yeah.
Because they're probably
Three
two-story,
stories.
three-story, it's three
Three-story.
stories.
It's a 3-story building.
Yeah.
Are they, okay. But a 3-story building is allowed on the project, on the property, isn't it?
Correct. So a three-story building is allowed there, but in order to make the height work with both a roof peak that can accommodate solar, an increased height by over 35 is needed. So most of the time for solar orientation, for attic access, for green energy requirements, things like that, the roof peak is going to be exceeding the 35 for a 3-story. The intent of R2 zoning is medium density residential, which typically targets 1 or 2-story buildings, not a 3-story project.
Oh, I thought the solar was
Now,
going on the
that's true,
carports.
but the question to me is,
Isn't it?
why? We need something to done about our ordinance and this whole thing. To force a developer having to apply and do all the work necessary to get an additional 5 feet to do a 3-story building, which is allowed, to me is a waste of time and money and on both sides of the table. And fine, you need the 5 feet, but to me, we shouldn't design our ordinances so that you have to apply for additional 5 feet for a 3-story
I have
Oh,
building.
this one, I already.
That's
got
my
one
2 cents.
Earlier this week.
Anyway, that's all I had. If there's no other questions.
I'd like to just clarify one thing. The solar will be both on the carports and the buildings, on the roofs.
What did you say?
The solar's on the carport and the
Both?
buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that. That's
Yeah.
great.
Okay, any other things from the commission to the staff or to the applicant? Be careful, whoever.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to address a few of those last comments that I heard. Then the first one being, what you said about how it's unfair that market rate housing doesn't get the same benefits that we do. And frankly, I fully agree with you. I do think that, the state law should allow market rate housing, similar incentives. Unfortunately, we didn't write the state law, and nobody did. It's been around for a long time, and that's just how it is. The logic being that market rate developments, because they're market rate, they get higher rents, and therefore they don't need all the extra density, all the extra height, the less parking, to make it pencil. Whereas for affordable housing, because they're affordable, they need this extra, incentives to make them feasible financially. In regards to the other point about building it on the other side of the river, we actually built Mitchell Apartments on Mitchell Avenue, south of the river, because that was a senior project, and we know it's closer to the shopping areas of Oroville and all that. In this case, because it's a family project, it's less important for it to be as close to local shops and amenities. However, if we are too far away, we would not win. Because these grant applications, they're kind of structured in a way that, the state makes you, qualify how far away you are from schools, from grocery stores, from hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, that kind of stuff, to know that, the people living there are going to have access to all these things. So again, if we were to pick a site too far out of town, we wouldn't win. So we wouldn't pick it in the first place. And the last point is we've already obtained the blessing of the city council to do this, program along with it. So this meeting is really just kind of the last step that we need, the last kind of block in the puzzle to make this thing really golden. And again, I think we're basically positive that we're going to win this round. I don't want to speak too soon, but again, we've never lost any ASIC program in the past, and we don't think we'll lose it on this one either.
Okay, we're starting to beat a dead horse here, so I think I'm ready for a motion. Be careful, whoever makes the motion, that it's designed to fit what it is you want to do versus what is proposed, whatever the heck that means. I'm ready for a motion from somebody.
All right, I'll go ahead and move that we adopt the notice of exemption. Do we need Kayla here to record the motion, or?
We're making a motion. Perfect. We're getting
I'll
somewhere.
let you get settled.
Ready when you are.
Ready? Okay. So I'm making a motion to adopt the notice of exemption, adopt the recommended findings for the use permit, approve the use permit 24-01, and adopt resolution P 2024-01.
Hear a second? I don't hear a second.
I'll second.
Did you second it?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Okay, I have opened the vote if you guys wanted to use your keypads. You can use your keypad if you'd like, but I can also call.
Oh, that's right, I keep forgetting.
Oh, we have two Durlings. He gets 2 votes.
Whoopsie. I'm not quite sure what happened there, Terry. Would you like me to do a verbal roll call instead?
No, I'm just thinking about it.
I
Okay.
know, it's a tough one. It's tough, for sure.
Well, I'm doing it because of location, all the other stuff is, to me,
I mean,
projects north of the, these kind of projects
I'm
north
still
of the river
unclear
need to
on,
be south of the river. So, Anyway, that's it?
Looks like
Oh my gosh. Because we have 6 of us? Oh gosh, that's why we need an odd number.
so then it dies.
We need 2 Durling votes.
Why is there two Durlings? I'm confused.
So Frankie's the tiebreaker.
That was.
I'm looking,
I'm not
Can
quite
you
sure. What
have too
happened.
many
am I
Durhams?
supposed to
It doesn't, it
not
shows-
vote?
No, you're
No,
not supposed to be
you're-
there.
You're fine.
Gents, it's on here as normal, so I think it might be the system. But at any rate, that motion dies because it's a 3-3 at a tie vote. Is there another motion on the table?
So,
My question is, can we tie this to getting the $2 million?
I think it is tied.
It is.
It's totally
I
tied.
I think that the project doesn't work without the grant.
Approve this project, we get $2 million.
We get $2
That's
million.
the bottom line.
Okay.
No, only if they are awarded the grant. So if they're not awarded the grant, and Jacob, you'll have to clarify this for me. If they're not awarded the grant, the project doesn't work, they can't do it, and we don't get our money. If they
Right.
get the grant,
It goes together.
if they awarded the grant, then they do the project and we get the road.
Well,
Jacob, is that correct?
Right, yes, yes,
will-
that's correct, yeah.
I would put
Yeah,
my
we
money.
made this project, for this grant in particular. I mean, when we found this site, we said this is gonna work for this program. So it's all kind of been predetermined for this program. So it would really be a bummer for us if we didn't get the grant.
My money is that they'll get the grant. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
They
no
will.
question to me.
If they don't, they'll turn around.
It will happen.
Anyway.
And the city will get its $2 million. That's the bottom line in
How-
terms of proving the project. Okay?
How are we,
We're split 3-3, was it?
yes, sir.
I don't know what we do when it's split
The
3-3.
motion fails if there's a tie.
Huh? Is that,
Someone
is
changes
that a
their vote.
denial or
It's a denial if it's a tie.
a tie vote is a denial in our ordinance?
Yes, because it's
Okay.
not a majority vote.
Okay, so the project is denied by a 3-3 vote.
The motion is denied. So
Huh?
if there's, the motion itself is denied due to lack of, I'm not quite sure what the word is I'm looking for, but majority vote. And as such, we can hear another motion on the floor if there is one to be had.
And if someone changes their vote, then it'll, yeah.
How are
Okay,
we
I'm-
guaranteed that
I'm
the
sitting here waiting for somebody to do something. I can't do it.
2 million will go
I made my motion.
To
I'd like
the-
to hear what yours are, so.
for roads? I mean, how is it allocated? Who decides the allocation? Okay, if it's $2 million is allocated, but who decides where it's spent?
It's been
City council.
specifically.
You guys do.
Go ahead, Jacob.
It's part of the budget.
Sorry, we've already kind of, been working on this for, I want to say about a month or two. We hired a third party consultant. Kevin is fantastic. He's been working with city staff to kind of determine exactly where they want to do what. So, they'll say we need sidewalks here, we need a road there, we need a street light here, and the program itself does have minimum requirements as to what we have to do. So I think there's a minimum amount of sidewalks that we have to add and a minimum amount of, I believe it's road that we have to pave. I'm not exactly sure on, the details of the program, but there's things like that that are already built into it. And we just kind of work with the city, or not me, but Kevin works with the city to actually determine where these improvements are going to go. And so it's already kind of been in the works for about a month or two at this point.
Our city engineer, our engineer, is actually working on quantifying exactly where these are to be done and the dollar amounts involved. So that is in process right now.
Yeah, but who approves that?
The
City council.
the council has to approve it because they have to approve the grant application.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the motion was basically to approve the project. And we had a 3-3 vote.
To adopt the required resolutions in order to move it forward from the planning commission.
Yeah.
Now, if there's, is there something that's within the, in the resolutions that we're not agreeing with, or? I'm trying to find a way forward here. What is there something that we have an issue in the resolutions that we can address, or?
To me, the issue is the project.
If anyone thinks they might change their vote, I
The-
suppose
to
you
me, it's the
you
location.
could make the same motion again.
Yeah, we just need someone to change their vote.
Nobody.
And if there are any questions that you guys want me to answer, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Well, I mean, again, you got the carrot and we got the stick, basically.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, if this is not gonna be built for 4 to 5 years, is that what you said, Patrick? Was that what you were saying?
I think that
In
Connor,
actuality,
That's
this won't be
right.
built for 4 or 5 years?
yeah, Connor
We
had
don't
made
get the
that
new
point.
roads and sidewalks.
And
before-
I take it movement through the planning commission is required for the grant application, which is why we're seeing it now as opposed to 2 years from now.
Is that true?
Correct, yes. So the application period, I believe, closes in March for eligibility in this grant funding round. And so this is necessary to move forward in order to qualify for that grant. The $2 million figure that you guys are hearing is really inherently included within that grant funding request. So it's necessary in order to pencil this project out. The provisions of the affordable housing grant include that the really intent of it is you're developing sustainable communities within the vicinity of this project. So all of the infrastructure improvements are going to be completed within the immediate vicinity of this project. So Nelson Avenue leading up to those schools, which we always see students walking on Nelson anyway, that will help provide them with a safe route to school with funding that the city does not have to foot the bill. In addition, this project is also required to pay fair share development impact fees. Every single one of our affordable apartment complexes have paid their fair share of development impact fees. A few of them have requested deferrals before final occupancy, but all of them have paid. So we will also be seeing road, sewer, water, parks, and general government, fire, police development impact fees. Those can total to a few $100,000 for each kind. In addition, this project here, it really, and I kind of just lost my train of thought there, but really this project, it's needed with those 72 units, and we're going to get those 2 million. Oh, I remember where I was going. I believe the figure alone, when I was talking to Josh, our engineer, was the city's annual road budget for road projects is 2 million for every single project that we're looking at. And that number was kind of eaten away by our Washington Avenue project just to repave the road. So in all bad words, it's quote unquote free money for us to get some infrastructure out of it when we're dying for infrastructure.
Can I also chime in that, so we've been meeting with them weekly. We have a weekly standing meeting with them, and it's all departments. I'm in there, Wes is in there, Amy's in there, Fred's in there, Josh is in there. And so we've been puzzling out the road where we want it to be. I actually tried to move it to someplace else so we could use the money for roads for another,
Yeah.
but it has to be contiguous to the project. So, every week Josh shares his screen and he goes down the sidewalks, like marching down the sidewalks on the screen, taking a look at them. He's measuring them out. He's talking about how far we can go. I think it was actually Josh's idea to go up the road up to the school there and then go down the other road that's more closer to the project and down towards the other school. So, I mean, this has been, so I think there was a question or sort of a point earlier, a concern that will we get it? How do we know it'll be this right here? So we've been staff has been integral in defining what roads would be included in the application, and they're actually writing the application to include that exact what we're telling them that we want. So,
What's the chance of losing the grant? I mean, 4 to 5 years from now, I mean,
well, I think if they get
even further in, right, the state can go broke or be, 100 billion, in the red, right? And they could cancel it, like they got rid of RDA, right? No redevelopment. So, I mean, what's that risk of, so can they cancel the grant? And if they cancel the grant, is this project dead?
Jacob, can you weigh in on that? Does the project work at all if you don't have the grant?
So this project in this form would not work without the grant. I mean, if push came to shove and, we couldn't get the grant for whatever reason, if State California went bust tomorrow, we would still get it done in another way. It would be, less lucrative for us and less lucrative for you guys as well. But, once we get the grant, even though it's going to be 5 years out, 4 years out, once we do obtain the grant, it's ours. I mean, there's no way that we would lose it, as long as we get it built within the proper time, which again, the state knows would be a few years from now anyway. So that wouldn't be a problem for us.
As it stands right now, the motion's denied and the project is therefore denied. That's where it stands, unless somebody wants to change their vote.
Or make another motion.
We're at the end of the discussion here. But
Make a new motion.
why?
Yep.
Maybe someone will change their vote.
My personal is, I don't want the project, but I want the 2 million.
That's what I want.
That's where I
Well, then
was,
you gotta approve the project.
That's what I'm saying. I know
where
that.
That's where I was struggling, because
I
I
know
like
that,
the low
that,
income,
so
but
that's
the
what I'm
money
saying.
for the project.
Again, it's a carrot and a stick. I don't want the project, but I want the 2 million for the
Yes,
infrastructure.
yes.
What's better for the
We
city?
need to go protest Sacramento.
It's gonna be the infrastructure. So,
Warren, would you make the same
So-
motion again?
I
will-
guess if nobody else is going to make it.
We need Warren to make it.
I reinstate the motion that I previously made, if that's good enough for you,
Yes,
Kayla.
it
Okay.
is.
Yeah, I'll second that again.
Okay. I'm going to
Do we have a new
call,
motion on the floor?
I'm going to call the roll this time since our electronic voting system appears to not be working.
Okay.
Okay. Glenn Rossi,
Yes.
Marissa Hallen,
Yes.
Natalie Sheard,
No.
Warren Jensen,
Yes.
Terry Smith,
Yes.
Carl Durling.
No.
Motion passes with 4 yeses and 3 nos.
Good.
We can move on.
Well, that's what this
We
planning
learned a
commission's all
lot.
about.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
Then we're doing
No one
our
said it
job.
would be easy.
No. And, the point you make is valid. I mean, that's
Yes,
part of that's why we decide things,
Yeah.
exactly.
what the facts are. And the facts, in this case, $2 million is a lot of kind of money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll reiterate that I think we would be very much interested in discussing proposed legislation that would give us more flexibility in our
Yes.
planning to direct.
Are we gonna have to close down the
direct
city?
our
I
planning
mean,
commissioner.
just let the state of
I,
California.
I think the
Okay, let's
message.
get going here.
The message
next.
is very clear that,
Next
that
item.
affordable housing is
Next item,
not
staff.
desired here. All right, item 2 is a revisit of the ADU ordinance, which the discussion was started at the last meeting on December 21st, and it was getting late, and
Where is that at? What
Lark
page?
had made her presentation. I've asked her to make a very, very short recap of what she talked about before.
Oh, God.
And then get to discussing the ADU ordinance. So, Lark, are you there?
Yes, Wes, thank you very much, and I will do my best to keep this short. I deeply appreciate the conversation or the public hearing that the commission just had. I'm going to say that for the record. You do really hard work. Thank you. Before you this evening, staff is recommending that you hold a public hearing on the proposed accessory dwelling unit ordinance, that you recommend that the city council adopt a notice of exemption for the proposed ordinance, and that you adopt the recommended findings in the draft ordinance. As I mentioned last month, the state has made significant changes to accessory dwelling unit ordinance. Different laws went into effect January 1st, 2024. The state law now requires that all jurisdictions adopt accessory dwelling unit ordinances, which would allow both an accessory dwelling unit and a junior accessory dwelling unit on the same property, for a total of 3 dwelling units on a property if this owner so desires. It also allows the creation of accessory dwelling units in multiple family zones. It establishes that properties with junior accessory dwelling units must be owner occupied. At the last meeting, we handed out a handout that says we're recommending 3 changes to the draft ordinance before you. If you look at page 69 in your packet, under the definition of accessory dwelling unit, at the end of that sentence, I'm going to read the whole sentence. Accessory dwelling unit means an attached or detached residential dwelling unit that provides complete independent living facilities for one or more persons and is located on a lot with a proposed or existing primary residence and garage. We need to add the words and garage. And that's the definition found on page 69 of your packet. On page 71 of your packet, under item F, definition of accessory dwelling unit, junior accessory dwelling unit. A junior accessory dwelling unit means a unit that is no more than 500 square feet and contained entirely within an existing single-family structure and garage. And then on page 74 of your packet, we need to strike a portion of the first sentence under item 15. That's page 74 in your packet, item 15. For an attached dwelling unit, total floor space may not exceed 1,000 square feet, and then we need to strike or 50% of the floor area of the existing or proposed single-family dwelling unit, whichever is less. The new state law says that jurisdictions may no longer use a percentage of floor area in their definitions or their approvals. So I wanted to point out, first of all, those three changes. Limits on accessory units are permitted only when there is an inadequacy or water of sewer service, or there are negative impacts on traffic flow or public safety. The city may not deny an application for accessory dwelling unit due to lack of parking. Parking for an accessory dwelling unit may now be located in a property's front, side, or rear yard setback areas. The only areas where design standards may be established for an accessory dwelling unit is if it is adjacent to property or is on property that has a structure listed on the California Registry of Landmarks. In the staff report, there's a discussion of fees, development standards, portions of the state law which now apply to potential condominium with accessory dwelling units. This ordinance was drafted to address 75% of the folks who come into the public counter and express a desire to build an accessory dwelling unit on their property. It is not designed to be a catch-all for all situations. In the draft ordinance, let me take a look where that's at. On the last page, item P, conflicts. If this ordinance conflicts with state law at the time an accessory dwelling unit or junior accessory dwelling unit building permit is submitted to the city, the state law will govern. And we believe that the state is going to continue to make modifications to the accessory dwelling unit laws. So I just wanted to have an out here so that when your staff is working at the counter with applicants, that if there's any conflict, they can refer to whatever state law is in force at the time that they come in. I'm hoping that this ordinance will serve the city well for many years to come. And at this, I'll open up to questions.
Okay, any questions of staff? Any questions of the presentation?
Actually, I have a question. It's just a question that I thought of as we were going over it here tonight. I didn't come prepared with this one, but is there some sort of an incentive for a property owner to create an ADU or a JADU? Is there some sort of tax incentive or something from the state?
There's no tax incentive, but the state, let me find it on it's on page 5 of the staff report. I didn't note the packet page, but the state has established a $100 million grant program to assist in the construction of accessory dwelling units. Butte County property owners with an annual income of less than $73,000 a year are eligible to apply for Cal HFA grant in the amount of up to $40,000 per accessory dwelling unit. pre-development costs, which include soils reports, building permit fees, utility hookups, and architectural and engineering fees. However, I've noted that at $40,000 per grant, this is only a total of 2,500 grants in the entire state.
The other implied or de facto incentive is that if you build an ADU under, and I believe, Lark, it's 750 square feet, you are exempt from being charged impact fees as well. So
That's correct.
that's
And
another
if you build a
incentive.
unit that, excuse me, Wes, you build a unit that's under 499 square feet, then you do not have to pay school fees either.
So no school fees under 500, but there are school fees up to
Oh, if
750?
you build an accessory dwelling unit 500 square feet or more, you will have to pay school fees.
Can we modify that, or we can't touch that?
750 or
You-
exempt.
You can't touch that. That's established by the school district.
Yep.
So are you paying the difference? Or are you paying the full boat?
You would be paying the full boat. If you built an accessory dwelling unit of 700 square feet, you would be paying the full boat. I did call the school district to clarify that with them.
Then what am I missing on L on page 74? Maybe the different fees. ADUs up to 750 feet are exempt from impact fees.
The city's impact fees.
Except
not the
for
school
the
districts.
school
Oh,
district?
not school.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Different
Same
jurisdiction, yeah.
controls. That
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
We're in America.
that's
We
a
have to- we have
conversation
to make
for
it
another time
complicated.
about that.
Yes.
I'd like, so this is our draft ordinance that we're gonna send to council.
Yep.
I'd like to make, I would like no rental restrictions on that.
Like what?
That's not a state requirement. Rental
That's
restrictions.
correct.
Oh.
What number is that?
That is O,
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
rental
okay.
restrictions.
use restrictions. The commission is free to totally eliminate that
Yeah, no deed,
section of the ordinance.
yeah, no deed restrictions or anything. I don't wanna have any rental restrictions in there.
Any other discussion?
This does then allow an ADU to be used as an Airbnb.
That's correct. And or for a traveling nurse who might be here for a month, or a doctor, right? So that's how I see it. I mean, and, which could be, again, I mean, if it's done as an Airbnb, then the city gets revenue from that, right? Like a
Yeah,
hotel
because then you're
tax,
subject to the tax.
right? So I mean, I see that as a win-win, because we do need, all available units for traveling doctors, traveling nurses. For linemen, things like that, some that might be here on a 45-day, right? Or even they might be here for 2 months, but, you know.
The bottom line is you're shifting pure single-family subdivisions more towards rental
Yes.
subdivisions
With the ADUs,
with
right?
ADU, yeah,
Totally.
if you drop that restriction. And to me, that's the basic issue is that, do we want, single-family, want me, I have a single-family home, to build as basically a second unit so I can make money renting it to anybody. That's the issue.
Well, if you'd like to.
Yeah,
But should we allow that?
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, most people with an most landlords want a minimum of a 60 or a 12-month lease anyway. But I'm thinking that, so that's pretty much what they're gonna want. So, but I think in the case where we do have traveling doctors and nurses, and we're gonna have them coming here pretty soon without a place for them to stay, they're already having buses 2 to 3 times a week to Roseville because there's not adequate housing here for them. If we do have linemen we have people, who might need a shorter stay than 60 days. I think we shouldn't have a rental restriction.
What was the original purpose of ADUs?
From
Increase
this,
the housing
Affordable
stock.
housing,
For who?
The state.
for whatever the state wants them to be.
Whether it's affordable, not to increase the housing stock or increase the stock of household units.
No, the original was so that families could have their
Mother-in-law.
families live in.
Yeah, like a mother-in-law
That's one of
unit.
the
That was the
things that-
original
a
deal.
mother-in-law,
Yeah, that was the original, where it started. We've gone from that to making apartment complexes out of single-family homes, subdivisions. That's the bottom line.
Well,
I mean,
That's our state.
I have more incentive now to build one because I'm gonna make money renting it to anybody.
there you go.
And do we want that
Right.
in a single-family subdivision? Do we want to shift a single-family subdivision toward that?
The state has already done so.
The state has
The
shifted
state
it.
has shifted it.
And so are you gonna lock out Airbnbs, but you're gonna allow everything else?
Yeah.
That's what will happen. It will be, short-term rentals for all different types of group homes. But you'll just pick the one Airbnbs that won't be able to use the property. So I would rather, if we're gonna allow some, I'd rather not restrict at all
That's
than
why
penalize, yeah.
So let me ask this question.
that's the issue.
I forgot her name.
Lark.
Lark. So, the restrictions, so, the state is allowing these things to be condoed off. Now, that's a whole nother exoteric exercise with lenders and appraisers and like-kind properties and establishing value. So let's just say someone condos it off, now that's a separate unit. So it's now no longer considered an in-law unit, right? It's considered a fee simple ownership, condominium
That's correct.
ownership, basically. So there are no restrictions, correct?
Well, that would be true.
Okay. You can't sell off a JADU because it's attached
Correct.
to your property, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, I have a friend right now that she rents out one of her rooms in her home as an Airbnb because she has a large home and it's just her. So she rents out a room to a gentleman who comes here once a month on business, stays here a couple nights all the time. So I think that it would serve us well to just not have those restrictions on there.
So if she sold her home, what would happen to that rental?
It wouldn't be rented out.
If she sold her home,
Yeah,
well, then that gentleman would have to find another place to
right.
stay.
But that's not the case with the ADU. The person sells the home, the ADU is still there and still rented to somebody. And now you got,
Yeah, because
to me, a problem.
even if this ordinance is passed, it wouldn't be an incentive for that person to apply for it to become a JADU. The incentive would be to just continue to operate it as they are currently, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they build an ADU on the property and they don't do a parcel map and they don't separate it, it's basically two homes on one lot, for lack of a better term. That's not really what it
No,
is.
it's called ownership in common. Okay?
If it's separate.
No, if the person is renting it, they establish an ownership, they establish a right to be in the property. And technically, it can be looked at as an ownership in common, a common interest ownership. That's where it's going.
Right, but in this ordinance, you can't sublease. So if I'm a tenant in an ADU, I cannot sublease it out to someone. I can only lease it myself.
Correct.
The
However-
owner, however, can do it. So
Correct.
if I build one and I sell my property, both of them go unless I've gone through the process of parceling off that ADU and not making it
No,
a separate property.
If I sold my home and there's a rental guy in the back, there's nothing in the law saying that that person has to move out of that unit.
Correct. You have to honor his lease, absolutely.
Yeah.
But at some point, that lease is up.
No,
Sure.
no, you have open-ended leases.
Well, a lease needs to have a start date and an end date.
Basically, it's a rental, you know,
Okay.
forget lease, it's just a rental. And the person has a right to rent. So if I sold my home, my person has a right to continue his rent.
So what are we discussing again in
So-
terms of the?
I like the ordinance, I just want to remove the rental restrictions. That's what I want to do. So,
On O, the whole
Yeah, because if you eliminate O1, O2, 3, and 4 are not relevant. So
Exactly.
thing. Okay.
Okay, ready for a motion? Somebody?
where the hell is
Get
it
it,
at?
Glenn.
Where is? oh,
In a second,
there it is.
obviously.
Okay.
Come on, make a motion.
So a motion should include Lark's changes, plus whatever other changes you'd like to have in it. At this point, it sounds like eliminating section O.
Yeah. Okay, so where is okay. All right, I make a motion that we adopt resolution P2023-23. Is that correct? With the revision of removing O, the use restrictions,
And the changes that Lark made.
and the changes that,
Three
All the
changes, yeah.
that
three
she-
changes that Lark has recommended.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Ready to vote?
Glenn Rossi,
Yes.
Marissa Hyland,
Yes.
Natalie Sheard,
Yes.
Warren Jensen,
yes.
Terry Smith,
Yes.
Carl Durling.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you.
We did it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lark.
Thank you, Lark.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Would, with the chair's permission, would it be okay to have a 5-minute
What?
recess?
You want to recess right now? What if I say no?
Anybody else? I mean,
How much are you willing to pay? I've got a recess for sale anyway. Yeah, we'll take 5-10 minutes, fine.
okay. Trish, hang in there.
daughters both in high school.
Are they driving yet?
The older
Okay. What high school? Okay. Experience? So far?
okay enough.
Yes. This item before you is a modification of the Grand Acres subdivision. The subdivision map is in front of you, and the Planning Commission approved this subdivision last August. They approved it with the applicant stating that they intended to put in a manufactured home community. So that would be a 25-lot manufactured home community. The applicant, who is online now, is not sure whether they're going to do a manufactured home community or a stick-built conventional construction. The conditions of the approval that the commission approved included the intent for a manufactured home community. Before you is a revised set of proposed conditions which are more standard for a conventional construction. So there are some additions for design and floor plans and that sort of thing. My understanding is that once the applicant decides whether they're going to go with manufactured homes or conventional, not a mix, not like Kelly Ridge with the mix of manufactured homes and stick-built. We would strongly discourage mixing manufactured homes in with conventional homes in this subdivision. Well, that's what you're free to question that.
I mean,
Before you
there has to be
is-
an answer, otherwise you wouldn't be saying it. What's the answer to, why do we care? I mean, there's got to be a reason.
It
I don't
lowers
see
the,
the reason anywhere, is what I'm saying.
it changes the property values of the stick-built homes. So, back to our discussion that we had on the first item, market rate versus affordable. It just changes it makes the conventional houses less valued than it would if they were there in a complex, all of conventionally built homes.
Is there a significant difference between the construction of the two of them?
Yes.
Okay?
And there's,
Okay,
Where that they're-
that's the issue,
What's the issue?
the difference between the construction of one versus the other, and that's why they don't mix. However, manufactured housing often, I won't say often, I did a 15-lot subdivision in Utah. You could not tell the difference between the manufactured home versus across the street, a stick-built home.
And that is a valid point.
And that's my concern.
Yeah. We do have a manufactured home ordinance that requires homes to look like conventional homes, to have
Yep.
sloped roofs and siding and such, and to have garages and all of that.
Yep.
So we do have that requirement.
So why are why is this before us? I mean, why do we care if it's a mix?
well, it's before you now because before it could only be manufactured.
I can't hear you.
It's before you now because it could, as approved earlier, it can only be manufactured. So what you're doing tonight is you're approving it to be conventional or manufactured.
And that's my point is, why do we care? I mean, why did we do it in the first place? Why do we say, you can only do it this way, or you can only do it this way?
That's how it was presented to us.
Huh?
That's how they presented it.
That was dumb.
So depending on which way the applicant actually decides, there's two sets of draft conditions here, one for conventional and one for manufactured. And which the question before you tonight is to approve that option for the applicant.
For standard single family.
Yeah. So Trish, the applicant, and Wyatt, the civil engineer, are both online. They may want to weigh in on this question.
Hello?
Am I?
Maybe they don't.
Yep. Is that?
Yeah.
Is the applicant here?
We can hear you. I heard them come through.
Promote to panelist.
Is it them?
Yeah.
Trish, can you hear us? Are you there?
You folks are muted at your end, I believe. Ask to unmute.
They were on. Oh, there they are.
Okay, Trish, I think we can hear you now.
Oh, right there. Issues with their mic. Every time they undo it.
So we're not going to be able to hear him or talk to him?
We're not quite sure. Just one moment.
Promote to panelist is not working.
Well, it is. They have to accept on their end.
Oh.
The applicant had been asking me questions about conventionally built versus mobile versus manufactured. This item was brought to the council by me because I wanted to give them the options of doing either or.
So what's the hesitation?
She's penciling it out. They're penciling it out to see what fits for them best.
Manufactured homes are on lots. They have to be basically to the ground, right?
Permanent foundation.
Yes, hello?
Hi, we can hear you now.
Wyatt,
Just one moment.
go ahead if you want to finish it.
Hello?
So we, I remember with Connor, so we have to have, is it 2 foot eaves? And,
And is anybody there?
Yeah, Wyatt, we can hear you. Just 1 second, please.
Yes, this is Wyatt with W. Gilbert Engineering.
Hey Wyatt, it's Trish. I think they have us on mute.
No, we can hear you now. We can hear you both.
I think her screen's muted. I keep trying to get on.
The host would like me to be a panelist.
Yeah, I don't.
Can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. My fault.
Okay.
So,
It's working now. Going
are you able to hear us, Wyatt, Trish?
Yes.
Okay, you want to go ahead and give a little presentation?
Of the
Before you do-
proposed subdivision?
Do we
I
have any
guess,
questions of staff before we get into the applicant? Anybody?
I think that, so I brought this item to you that wasn't the applicant that brought, I asked them to be online to come with us tonight in case you had questions of them, so they may not actually have a presentation put together. They've already been approved for a manufactured, for a project with manufactured homes. And so I brought this to request that we give them the option of having either manufactured homes or conventionally built homes
For the whole subdivision?
for the whole subdivision.
which is fun.
So I don't know if they have a presentation. If they want to, they can pipe in. But otherwise, if you have any questions of staff or of the applicants, we're all ready for you.
So Chair Durling, your question about whether they can be mixed or not, as you know, Kelly Ridge was mixed.
You're muted, Wes.
Yeah, how many years ago?
I mean, your microphone.
Everybody can hear me, right?
Because
Yes.
And on 21st Street nearby, there is a manufactured home adjacent and immediately south of this, a new one, immediately south of this subdivision. And 21st Street, across the street, there, I believe there's a mix. There's a couple of manufactured homes and a couple of conventionally built homes. So it is the discretion of this planning commission as to whether you want to require solely one type or solely the other type, or if you don't care, we can register that.
Well, my question, so the one that's just south of that, the one that's just south of that.
You're off.
The one that is south of that, of this project, I saw it. Didn't know if, it doesn't look like it is set up to our new manufactured home standards.
Yes, it is. We
It
did
is?
require it. We required a garage and the whole bit. Yeah.
An attached garage or a detached garage?
It's up to them, but manufactured home builders tend not to like attachments to their manufactured homes, so this one's detached.
Because it still looks like a manufactured home. So, I mean, I don't know the hesitation of the applicant. I mean, you either do manufactured or you do site built. I don't see the benefit of doing a mixture of them.
marketing.
Well, maybe so, but I mean, you have to figure out, so is it a price point that we're trying to figure out on this?
That's what they're trying to figure out for themselves, right? Which fits their needs. I mean, I think the applicant is new to building, and so they're working things through. I just
Okay.
wanted to give them options.
No, and that's fine. I just want to, I'm just trying to understand the hesitation of this, So we're here just to approve them doing site built or
Conventional.
or manufactured?
It's just because the condition in the original condition was manufactured only.
Okay,
So I wanted to bring it back to council to open it up, to give them options.
sure.
So I thought it may actually pencil out better for them to do conventional at the end of the day because of the sales price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the ability, under the way that this was advertised, to allow him to mix the project. Isn't that true?
No, when the project was first approved, it was approved for manufactured homes only.
But I mean, can we approve the project as we sit here right now?
The planning commission can make that. Yeah.
Yes, the
Mhm.
planning
I mean,
commission can approve a mixed
Right.
project. Is that
Someone
right?
can make a motion to allow, how would they say that?
Uh,
Either or, yeah.
Yeah.
Or we
either way.
can do either
Right.
manufactured or
Yeah,
stick
you got
built.
three choices, really.
I would go for the either manufactured or stick built. I personally don't like the mix. I don't think it looks like a well-planned community that way.
And I think we agree with that.
You think what?
This is Trish. Yeah,
Hi.
we do agree with that. We don't plan on mixing it. But we want to give developers a choice of either or.
Yeah, I think
What
that
is
sounds
your-
good.
So do you plan on selling these lots individually to spec builders?
We aren't sure at this point whether we're going to sell the map or if we're going to develop it ourselves. We are in discussions with developers and engineers and planners.
for them to sell the individual lot, they gotta record a final map.
Correct.
And a lot of times
That
you
was
don't
my
wanna,
question.
you don't wanna do that because of the expense, and so you sell the whole project,
Right.
okay? And I don't know what,
But there's not a lot of big developers who are gonna buy a 25 lot subdivision.
huh?
There's not a lot of developers who will buy a 25 lot
Got
subdivision.
news for you. There's a
Well,
lot
we've
of
got interest,
developers.
so
So this will give you more opportunity. I think that's great. We want flexibility for you to do with it what would be the best.
We still have curb gutter and sidewalk
Yep.
that we had last time, all along 21st.
Nothing else changes.
yeah, we would like to have that $2 million grant money from.
I know. We'd love for
The
you
other
to have that
project.
too.
That's affordable housing, kind of has its perks, but not in this situation. We're looking at 1.6 for infrastructure for our project.
Do you have a price point out there?
No, not at this point.
Well, how you deciding on what property, how are you gonna do it if you don't have a price point?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by a price point.
He means what do you need to sell each property for to make this pencil out for you? Or the, yeah, right? What do you need to sell?
Yeah, what are you gonna sell the houses for?
Or the lots? Sure. So that you make a profit on your investment.
Right, that's what we're looking into right at this point. But the point is that we wanted to either have it as manufactured homes or stick-built homes. That's what this, I think, meeting is about.
They're puzzling this out for themselves.
And it's just the same layout, the same size lot,
Yeah.
everything's the same.
Yeah, everything's the same. It's just whether it's going to be manufactured or stick-built.
They would have to come back again to change anything else, and we're not asking for that tonight.
No.
The smallest lot is 8,000 square feet, so it's pretty nice to have
I was gonna say.
a rural lot there.
Are these streets gonna be dedicated to the city, or are they gonna be private?
Public, I believe.
As I recall, dedicated to the city, because I had a question about
Public
that with
street?
DRC, yeah.
It shows public street on the map, so.
Mm-hmm.
Landscape lighting district and all that good stuff? That's all I have.
Any more discussion? My 2 cents is, you can build manufactured housing where it's indistinguishable once it's built with a standard stick-built home. The quality in manufactured home is at that level today. That it's not required that be at that level is the problem.
Right.
Okay, so, the subdivision I did in Layton, Utah, was it Layton? I think it was Layton, Utah, or Ogden, Utah, I can't remember. It was a mixed one, but, I spent time at this manufacturing home, business, demanding that they make changes so that when you have the house built, you couldn't tell that it was a manufactured home. The problem is stigma, not just design, but the problem is stigma. So technically, I don't want to see a mix because there's no control or standard that were established for the quality and design of the manufactured home vis-a-vis the stick-built home. Whatever I said is what I said. I don't understand what I said.
It made sense. No, it made sense. There's no.
So that's my 2 cents on the project. Any other discussion?
I think if you were gonna do manufactured, I would want an attached garage to make it look like a regular site-built structure. I've seen plenty of them done that way. I did one that way. I just built a 2-car garage and attached it right to the, so, I mean, there's a subdivision off of 10th Street that has that. that same design. They have, I think they might even have a site built in there. It's a little gated community off of 10th and Oro Dam.
Oh, yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about?
It's on 16.
10th.
It's like 5 houses.
No. This is on 10th. It's a little gated community, but it's manufactured homes, but they do have attached garage. Yeah, they have attached garages. Yeah, yeah.
All my manufactured homes in Utah were attached garage. You couldn't tell the difference.
Right. Right.
And that's because I demanded the quality.
Right.
Okay.
But I still think having a mix is gonna.
It's a psychological.
It could prop up the manufacturer and it can decrease the site build.
Right.
Okay, it's an economic obsolescence to have.
Yep.
So our zoning code says that all homes shall have at least 2 on-site parking spaces, one of which must be covered. It does not specify attached. This planning commission can condition this project to have attached garages if it so desires.
I disagree with that.
With what?
Making a condition that the garage be attached. Because there's many situations where you wouldn't be able to build the home you want because there's not room.
The smallest lot's 8,000 square feet.
Yeah.
I think that's plenty of room.
That depends on the design of the 8,000 square foot. Depends on the design of the lot.
What about carports? We don't want carports, right?
Carport is an option because all we require is one covered
Yeah,
spot
carport's there.
in our codes.
And the carport can be over both spaces, not just one. You know, it doesn't have to be one.
Well, it was my understanding from the manufactured home requirement was that it would have to be either a carport or a garage. But now if we're talking about conventional housing, it would seem to me that people would just have an attached garage to their house.
Correct.
But the other issue is there is a manufactured home on the property currently. So we're kind of wondering how that would play out if it goes to conventional, which I think developers, after people I've talked to, they want conventional ability. What would happen with the small manufactured home that's on the property currently?
Seems it would be legal non-conforming.
Yeah, legal. Yeah, just non-conforming is one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to just clarify that because, I didn't want that to be a problem for the city.
So they'd be able to do it all conventional and just keep that home that is already
Yeah.
there existing, and it wouldn't mess up the whole plan.
Right.
Exactly. That's my
great.
question.
Yeah, okay, that's great. So we got that answered. That is fine.
Well, the application is 25 parcels for medium, low-density manufactured housing subdivision. That's what we're,
That's what we
Already approved.
approved.
Approved already.
that's the only choice we have.
No, we already
Oh.
approved it. Now they
We
want to
already
change,
approved
they
it.
want to revise it to be able to.
Either or.
Yep,
Either or.
make a motion. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve resolution number P2023-31.
Is that the number? I second it. It's item 3. Right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ready to vote?
So this is an either or?
It's an either or. They have the option
Yep.
to do either one.
Not mixed.
Right.
The first unit he builds on there will tell what the rest of the units are gonna be, basically.
Okay, with that, would you guys like me to call the roll?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're thinking here.
Oh, she's calling it?
She's calling roll.
Oh,
Glenn Arasi,
Yes.
Marissa Halen,
Yes.
Natalie Sheard.
Yes.
Warren Jensen,
Yes.
Terry Smith,
Yes.
Carl Durling.
Yup.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
My yup was a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, item 4, membership on the Development Review Committee. Who are the 2 members now?
These two.
The 2 members are Warren, who is chairing it currently, and Terry, who is
Who?
on it and would
You
become
two.
chair.
Okay.
Warren's been on it for a year and believes that his tenure should be over.
That's fine. I mean,
And so we
The-
need a new member of the DRC.
the intent was that only be for 1 year, wasn't it?
6 months.
Oh, that's what I didn't like. That was it. 6 months is crazy.
Who's on it now?
Page 240.
Those two guys down there.
242.
Yeah.
Thank you for paying attention.
On page 242, it outlines who is on it now, who's been on it, and who has not been on it yet.
You're never gonna make it there.
What?
You'll never go.
I only got 6 more months.
You'll never go.
What are we doing?
Okay, I'll do it.
Anybody have any idea what we're doing?
Her term is up in June, so. up in June. I can do it. Glenn,
Okay.
remind me not to use you for a letter.
I'm ready to go home.
All right, so by acclamation, then Terry Smith will move in as chair of the DRC, and Marissa will be the second member.
But we do need a motion and a second.
We do need a motion.
Yes,
All right.
we do need
Sorry,
a
we
motion
need
and
a
a
motion.
second on that.
Come on, Glenn.
Says naming a new commissioner. Are we naming somebody?
Yeah.
I will move to remove myself from the DRC and appoint Marissa Hallen as the next member.
I second.
Okay, one moment. Okay, with that, Glenn Arasi,
I vote yes.
Marissa Halen,
Yes.
Natalie Sheard,
Yes.
Warren Jensen.
Yes.
Terry Smith.
Yes.
Carl Durling.
Yep.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, reports, discussion, correspondence, staff, do we have anything from you?
From
Yes, we do. I have about an hour's worth of
He's gonna give it back to us.
It says Historic Advisory Committee reports.
But first,
But
Yeah.
we really do.
The Historic Preservation Award has been promoted and marketed. We sent it out to 140 known businesses concentrating in the downtown. We have received one nomination.
I just want to mention the theater did not receive.
They did not.
The theater did not?
I asked our director about
It'd
it.
be number one on the list.
Can we still do that or?
Yeah, they
I let them know. I gave her the information.
did.
they're
The,
due the end of the month.
the nominations
Let's get it
are,
into West by
are
the end
due
of
at
the
the
month.
end of the month.
Why do we have it by
If-
the end of the month?
Depending on who gets nominated and such, we can start evaluating them in February.
Because we have to pick, because we have to be able to present, and we're awful slow.
We did not get much detail from the one nomination, so we have created an application form
Okay.
which outlines all of the criteria that are in the award. And so we will make sure that these applications get, be made available.
Is this on Facebook or?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna get in my application, probably on the last day.
Okay,
By
before
the end of January?
before everybody quits, I have a question of staff. What's the status, and I never can remember the name of the project, at the corner of Montgomery and, is it Feather River Boulevard?
The Gateway Project,
Gateway, see, I never can remember that.
we are still waiting for a thematic concept, development plan
Okay,
from.
you're waiting. Has there been discussions with the?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so, I mean, there has been meetings about the design and so forth, so it's moving along?
It's moving along.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find
There
out.
have been meetings.
Not as fast as
moving
we
along.
would like.
Do you think you can go as far as say it's moving along? I don't know. I don't know.
In case anybody wants to object, I say we move along.
Yep,
Well, I do
Oh,
have a couple things I
does have-
still need to
he has the floor,
mention.
and Patrick.
We're still
Yeah,
looking
boy.
at staff reports.
Still have a couple things to mention, if that's all
Yeah.
right.
He has a few more things.
Oh, you have more stuff to give? You better hurry up.
I will hurry. On January 15th, an RFP for the marketing of Oroville got issued, and on February 15th, we'll start evaluating those that have applied to start marketing Oroville. in 3 different ways, so. On January 2nd, the oak tree mitigation ordinance, Connor presented it to the council. The council did not approve it. They wanted it to be reworked a little bit, so Connor is reworking it, and it will get back to, I believe it'll come through the planning commission before it goes back to council.
I tell you, in all my experience on both sides of the counter, the most difficult ordinance to produce is a tree ordinance. Jeez.
For me, it was always a sign ordinance.
Yeah.
No, I'll take tree ordinance number 1, sign number 2.
Okay.
I've dealt with them
Sorry, I
and,
wasn't there. I was sick.
you know.
The al fresco dining ordinance was approved by city council, both readings, and it will take effect. I don't know the date it'll take effect, but probably sometime in late February.
Okay.
Cool.
The food truck village ordinance will be going to the council on February 20th. And this body has approved that already. On February 8th at the DRC meeting, the projects will be Starbucks number 3 at 2040 3rd Street at the Chevron, and a separate sign use permit. They've done a balloon test or the like, a flag test. They hung a flag or a box over the Chevron station on a cherry picker, and are going to likely come in asking for a 75-foot pole sign there, which exceeds the 45 feet that is allowed now, and the 60 feet, which staff might support. So there might be some controversy over that. It would have both the Chevron and the Starbucks.
How tall does
On
it
it.
need to be seen from the freeway?
75 feet.
Yeah, that's the whole.
And that's like their other one, right? Is their other one 75?
Their other one's 40 feet.
Oh,
Which sign
Thought
is
it was
40 feet?
so
The Chevron
tall.
sign?
Chevron sign, yeah.
and the Starbucks.
I thought we had a 60-foot one.
We do at
Sunk
at
it's down below
170,
Logan, yeah.
at 70 and 162 we do, but we don't have one for Grand Avenue. So we don't have a height thing for.
Combine their sign, Chevron and Starbucks.
So this will come before the DRC and then the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
We also have a proposed 120-foot high cell tower monopine at 3425 Orange Street, which is near the Orange and Oro Dam intersection
Avenue.
there. It's very close to the high tension lines that come through there. And so that will come before the DRC and the Planning Commission.
Has a use permit?
Yes. Lastly, Warren has given us all information about a tour of a fire-safe forest out there near Kelly Ridge. And that's on January 31st at 1 p.m. And I don't know who to sign up with, but there's an email letting you know how to sign up.
Yeah, it was some sort of RSVP link.
Yeah. So if anybody wants that, I can provide it. So
I have one quick question. Are you done?
I'm done.
Time's up.
It's really quick. If the Bird Street School wants to continue to put more trailers in the yard, is that going to go through the Development Review Committee or the Planning Commission? Is there going to be some check on
At least
limiting
DRC.
the number of trailers that are in that beautiful area, but right in front of St. Thomas's Church?
By trailers, do you mean tent buildings or?
The tent buildings, yes. It's just, they've got they've got electricity,
Yeah, the big
electrical
generators,
conduits.
yeah.
It's huge. I don't know what's happening. It's in such a prime area of downtown in front of St. Thomas's. I just don't want it to get lost.
I don't think it should grow anymore because parking is already an issue. Like, I feel like with
I know, between St. Thomas,
and
I know.
the preschool or whatever that's there, I think that, I don't think.
So it's not,
Like the traffic standpoint.
but it's not possible for them to just pull a permit and it would never come. It would go to DRC.
Correct.
Thank you.
Doesn't go to the planning commission?
No, but I don't want to block the view to St. Thomas. I know this is not the conversation for that, but it needs to be considered. It's an important location there.
I think we need to have a 4-story school building. I went to school in a 3-story.
I have one thing.
No, Bird Street School,
Are you
you used to
finished?
probably.
I have
got
one,
these stats.
just one thing.
Oh, we got one more over here.
So this is a sort of promotional thing. So I think some of you, I've mentioned to you that
can't
we're
hear a
rolling
word
out
you're saying.
a Civic 101 kind of a cohort. So it's going to go, we're going to start it in March. We're looking at the second week, or the second Wednesday of each month. It'll go for 8 months. Sort of designed to start in March and finish in November ahead of the holidays. And in this, each department will lead a 1 hour to 1.5 hour talk about that department. So the idea is to sort of expose the city, anyone who wants to come, residents, businesses, anyone who wants to come, and learn about how the city works from sort of the inside. I guess sort of like, say, open up the kimono and show everybody, how things work, what the problems are, what our constraints are, why some things seem frustrating, so it's, and then, so anyway, what I'm hoping to do is to start to build a more collaborative environment with the community. This is not unusual to this community, the way the government interacts with everybody. It's across the board, but I'm hoping that we might be able to start a whole different way of collaboration in the community so that we can just have things be better.
That's wonderful. So what are you calling it?
Civic 101.
Civic 101, and you said it's Wednesdays, starting in March?
Yeah, I was going to do it on Thursdays, the second Thursday.
Oh, second
No,
Thursday.
sorry, I was going to do it the second Thursday, but someone booked the convention center for a band every Thursday, that same Thursday, and I didn't want them competing with me, so it'll be every.
Well, if I could market the historic Oroville State Theater.
Well, I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
It may end up being there.
That'd be cool.
But it depends on how many people. If I have 30 people, that room will overwhelm the people, and it won't be as impactful, I feel like.
What
So,
time?
probably at like 6 o'clock, so so that people can, in the evening, right? It's the second Wednesday, so it'll be the second Wednesday of every month. So we did it on a week where there's no planning commission, there's no council meetings.
Can you send
That would be great.
Yeah, I haven't made the flyer yet. I'll be sending it out to everybody. I plan to promote it for the first one. If it works, it's successful, we'll do it every year. But I plan to look at the ambassadors that were identified through the branding program, through this body here, through the council chambers, the ODBA, maybe through like the school districts or something like that. So if everybody comes, that could be a lot of people, and maybe the theater would be appropriate for it. But I don't want the room to overwhelm the size. It'll have a lower impact.
Okay. And then I think in general, I want to be able to get an announcement whenever we have a community meeting. Like I'd heard after the fact that we'd had a meeting on public safety downtown that I would have liked to have checked out, but I didn't know about it until after it was done. Is there some sort of a master contact list or something to be notified of these?
That one was
things, or-
largely, I think it was promoted through the Chamber of Commerce, but it was largely targeted towards the business community. OPD, yeah, OPD did this, and OCDC, they did end up having 90 people come to it, but it was designed for and they may do it again, but it was designed for businesses because businesses have been having such a difficult time.
As a member of the Planning Commission, I would have liked to have heard.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about
listened
that.
in.
I'll make sure that we tell you about all of those things coming up.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.